Africa, and there are other notions of gods besides the monotheistic version of the Judeo-Christian.
Yeah.
Did you try to challenge those other gods?
Yeah,
that other people.
Hey, I leave that open to God. I just know that He's God and I'm Ronnie, and He can be whatever the hell He wants.
All right.
And I can be whatever the
we can do whatever we want.
I know it may not be a religion, but
we are gods. Have you guys watched the show Legion yet? Legion, you check it out on.
And it's got me by so far.
Yeah, Legion, man, that's a cool show, man.
You really liked it?
Legion is real, man. That shit is real.
There are cameras.
You're talking about the one in Diner, right? With the angel?
No, the Legion is it's a Marvel thing. It's on I think FX channel.
Oh, you mean the series?
Yeah, it's a series. Yeah, and it's a series about psychics that can actually change reality.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I used to think Bionic Man and Bionic Woman were real too.
You guys never had it happen to you yet, where you phase out and then pop in, and you're in a different spot.
Oh,
you're not where you were before. The last thing you remember was 2 hours ago.
Kind of like Beam Me Up Scotty, like they did in Star Trek.
This has got to happen to you.
That way.
One day, maybe, you'll be unlucky enough to have it happen to you. And it's not fun, and let me tell you.
I gotta go get cigarettes for you. I'll be back. Cigarettes. Bye.
That she's you. You've been trying to tell your story for 50 years.
Here I your Jaja. Here I see the views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily those of the network or anyone affiliated. There will be mature and possibly immature content. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. As a matter of fact, I probably wouldn't listen at all. It's very poorly produced. Take me to your leader.
Monster Castle Radio Show for the extreme paranormal listener. And here is your host, the Wolfman, Mike.
This is where the real freaks hang out, alright? Yeah.
We got a special Monster Castle, special surprise guest from Eric. This is gonna be crazy. Anyone listening? Tweet it out to all your friends. This is gonna be quite a shocking show. And we are here. All right. Big long intro there for you. Okay, hang on. Oh, this is serious stuff tonight, man. This is not about spaghetti, Adam. I'm sorry. We'll talk about spaghetti some other time. How you doing, Eric?
Yeah, Adam's mind is. We're gonna blow it to the point where he may not ever stutter again after this show.
Yeah, and it might feel like spaghetti.
But yeah, his brain will be spaghetti by the time we're done with our guest tonight.
I know mine's already. Just oh my gosh.
Just anticipating.
Right. Okay. Looking for something here. Okay, hang on a second. Do you want to just get
we're
right?
Done with our guest. Hold on, sorry. I gotta turn that off. Hold on a second.
All right. Oh my god.
Okay, yeah, I've already got some people in the chat room that I tweeted out to. So yeah, that lady Karen's a friend of mine from Los Angeles.
Okay. Here we go.
Hi, Karen.
Karen, how you doing?
Karen's awesome. She knows what's up.
Bruce May, you are the next guest on Monster Castle Paranormal. Come on down. All right. That was my silly interruption. I mean, introduction. Interrupting an introduction. Here you go. Bruce, are you there?
Me? Yeah, I'm here.
All right. How's it going, man? How are you?
Doing okay?
Oh, it's a crazy, spontaneous show here.
The station makes a lot of sound.
I'm sorry about that.
It's spooky sounding on my end.
Oh yeah, it's a spooky sounding show. Yeah, we're a spooky show.
I'm gonna spook you then.
Okay, I'm ready.
Yes.
That's what we are ready for. You're in the right spot. Everybody get ready to be spookified.
You want me to tell a little bit about the guest, Wolf, or do you?
Would you? Maybe you should give a little introduction.
Give a little
first.
bio.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. This was about a month ago, right? Bruce, wasn't it about a month ago that we were in San Francisco at the UFO conference there?
Yes, at the UFO Con.
UFO Con, and there was other guests. Bruce was given the opportunity to speak at the conference. I met him there. I was there with Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange, and his wife Debbie were there. We were doing live broadcasts. David Adair was there. George Norrie was there. Jason Quitt was there. I mean, there was it was a lot of great speakers, and so we were sitting that night. We arrived. Dave Cruz and I and his wife were sitting at the restaurant there. They have a restaurant there at the right near the airport. I think was it the Hyatt, I believe, or was it the Holiday Inn? I can't remember the name.
Holiday Inn.
Holiday Inn. So we're sitting in the bar restaurant at the Holiday Inn, and I'm talking with Dave. Left of us, sitting in another booth, was Bruce May, and you were sitting by yourself. I remember you sitting over there, and we were just talking, and and then we made a comment. Do you remember what the comment was, Bruce? Because I must have said something, and then you kind of leaned over and said something to me. But do you recall what that was? Because I don't remember.
No, you were just discussing the subject of UFOs, and I happened to, be eavesdropping. So I said, do you mind if I sit in on the conversation? Because
yes,
I have
correct.
A message of my own I'd like to share with people.
Right, and so I invited him over. I think he came over and sat with us, and you told us part of your story, enough to definitely get my interest, because I think it was the next morning, if not the next morning, the morning after that you were scheduled to speak. I think it was 8:30 or 8:45 or some ungodly hour. And
in the morning, on a Sunday morning.
It was a Sunday morning. Okay, so you actually were not. When we met you that night, it was Friday, I think. You weren't scheduled to speak for a few days.
Yeah,
but,
correct.
Yeah, so you basically were hanging around and chit chatting with people and getting to know people.
Yeah, I went to a dinner that was given in honor of George Norrie, and while I was busy meeting the big man himself, somebody put something in my food and tried to poison me. I ended up throwing up all night long, but I still managed to do a halfway decent show the next morning for 2 hours.
Oh my God!
I think that I did the best show there, and that despite the fact that I was sick as a dog.
I agree. It was the best presentation, no doubt. I just got to let me just lead you into the presentation. So here's what's interesting, because when you came down that morning, I was sitting downstairs, and you came down the elevator, and I just happened to be sitting down there. This was after you'd been throwing up all night. And I looked at you and I said, "How you doing, Bruce?" And you looked at me and goes, "You something like, you don't want to know." And then you proceeded to tell me that you were poisoned. And I thought, what? How can that possibly be? But the reality is they had a buffet at that dinner. There was chicken and rice and vegetables and everything else, all in a buffet setting. So people were walking around with their plates, all getting food from this. It wasn't like these plates were being brought to you. So the fact that you were poisoned and nobody else got sick, it had to be that way, because if there was food, bad food in the buffet, then everybody would have got sick, or other people would have got sick, but nobody else got sick. So, but the reality is, so Bruce comes into the conference room, setting up for his talk, and there was probably 6 or 7 people already in the room waiting to hear you talk, and you were telling people that you were poisoned and that you were sick, but you're going to do the show anyway. So go ahead and talk about that experience, what it was like for you, and tell us about some of the things that you talked about in your presentation.
Well, one thing I want to mention, I've been telling the same information for over a half a century. I'm in my 60s now, and I've been telling the same story to people since I was 7 years of age. But it's only recently that people have begun to take notice of what I was saying, because the kinds of things that I talked about 50 years ago, people couldn't comprehend then. But this generation that exists right now has been so desensitized through movies and television shows and other things that the truth doesn't shock them like it would have 50 years ago. So now when I sit down and I go over all the things that have taken place, they're more able to understand. So the one thing I was going to say, though, is that I have been trying for many, many years to call in to Coast AM with George Norrie and Art Bell, and there's always a block on my phone. And it's been very strange, because I had a phone set up where you only pushed the one button on it, and it would dial Art Bell. And I just would sit night after night after night for years, literally, and I never once got through. But on a couple occasions when I did get through, it was after George Norrie took over, and I was at somebody else's house. Somebody asked me to house sit their dog on a Friday night so that they could go out and go dancing. So I said, sure, I'll watch your dog as long as you let me use your phone. They said, sure, go ahead. So I called in and got through the first time. And unfortunately, though, the lady who was screening everybody, she said, we're not talking to aliens tonight. And she literally hung up on me. And it was strange, too, because I called back, and I got right back through again. So it's very strange that there's other people that call into the show. They call in, 3 to 5 times a week, and they always get through, but I have never once got through, because somebody in the government does not want my story told, because I'm the real thing. I'm not a wannabe. I'm not a make-believe. I was put here for the purpose of trying to send you a message. And as strange as it's going to sound to you people, I am an actual flesh and blood alien from another planet. I just happen to look like human beings, but I'm not a human being. And the fact of the matter is, there's a long story behind my life. What he was talking about earlier was when I joined the military at the age of 19, that was a long time ago, there was a draft in progress. And my draft number was it was really low. It was like 27 out of 350, which means that I was virtually guaranteed to be drafted. So, if you know you're going to be drafted, the best thing to do is to enlist on your own. That way you can control the kind of things that you do. Besides which, I didn't have any funding for college. I figured I'd do 4 years of service to the United States, and then afterwards I'd have the GI Bill. And as it happens, I'm kind of from a military background. My family is. On my father's side, I've had people here in North America since the early 1700s. And I've had relatives fight and die literally in every battle ever fought by the United States at any time, including some that took place before there was a United States. My mother's side was different, however. My mother was a kind of an escapee from Germany. My grandmother and their 4 kids were sent to the United States because my mother was a Jew. My grandfather saw what was coming down, so he sent his wife and kids to the United States. And as it happens, he had 2 boys and 2 girls, and his 2 boys, which were named Leslie and Clifford Raridan, they joined the United States military and volunteered to go fight Nazi Germany, and they were in tank battalions. And as it happens, Clifford Raridan was at the Battle of the Bulge, and he stopped an entire German armored division dead in its tracks almost single-handedly because he was a Jew and because he got mad because he saw Germans shooting Americans in the back as they were trying to retreat. So he just decided, all right, you want to fight? I'll give you a fight you won't even believe. And he massacred them. He literally tore through them like a chainsaw through tissue paper. And they collapsed. And that's no small thing because Germany put all of their reserves into the battle. And when they collapsed, that was the end of the war. Germany collapsed. The thing is,
that was World War I, right, Bruce? We're talking about World War I?
2.
Oh, well, this is World War II. Okay, I just want to make sure we're on the right timeline.
So, my uncle, just for the record, was brought back and was buried in Arlington National Cemetery, and in a very solemn ceremony that was attended by thousands of people, he was awarded posthumously the Congressional Medal of Honor. So, see, on both sides, on my father's side or my mother's side, there was this military background. My mother worked in the USO, and that's how she met my father in the first place. And here's the thing, because they had 6 children. They had 3 boys and 3 girls, and after having 6 children, my mother decided that she didn't want to have any more children. She figured 6 was enough. So she had her fallopian tubes surgically removed so that she couldn't have any more kids. But her uterus was still intact. The thing is, 3 years later, my parents had a missing time event where they lost like 3 hours in an afternoon. And it was very strange because when my mother came to, her underwear was missing and she felt wet in her crotch area, and it wasn't from urine. It was like a lubricant of some kind. And they didn't know what to make out of the whole event, except that a couple months later, they discovered that my mother was pregnant. And that's where I came from. See, I was completely unexpected. And the thing is that when I was born with pointed ears. And kind of freaked everybody out. Other than that, I looked perfectly normal.
You're talking about ears like Spock, right?
Yes, I looked just like Mr. Spock, except in real life. There wasn't plastic or glued-on ears. The thing is,
how many teeth did you have in your mouth?
Eric, the guy that I'm talking to here, he saw the flat spots on the backs of my ears. You can still tell. My father, what he did was he took me to a surgeon, and he had my ears cosmetically reconstructed by a plastic surgeon in an effort to try to make me look normal, which I wish he had just left the ears the way they were. I preferred it that way. But where I come from, everybody has pointed ears. You know, there's a story behind that. I'll get to that. But what direction do you want to go from here? Do you want
Okay, so Wolfman, you got any questions? It's your show, buddy. I just wanted to. Do you have anything you want to ask at this point?
Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering if you could have heard better with those bigger ears. Probably would have. It probably changed your hearing when they did that. But you were too young.
Dramatically.
Right? You must have.
Dramatically.
How old were you when he did that?
No, I was under 6 months of age.
Oh, and you remember that?
No, I don't remember it. What I remember is my previous existence. I'm a clone of somebody who was killed a long, long time ago. They took cells from my body.
Where do you think they got
still
them?
in existence.
Where do you think they got the DNA from?
It's mine.
Okay.
It's me.
Who did it
it's
again?
Me.
Sorry, who did the cloning?
Who did the what?
The cloning.
The cloning. My people.
Okay.
See, there's a lot of things going on that you people
cloned you from.
If I say it to you, most of you people don't believe the truth. And it's very strange because if I lied to you, you'd believe that.
Well,
but if I told you the straight out truth,
I think you might be talking to the right crowd you want to. So go ahead and tell us. I know I'll probably tend to. I know when someone's lying. I would just go with my gut instinct. I'm not going to go with what.
On Mars, right this second, there are billions of people. And the government of the United States is keeping that from the public.
I believe that.
I was said. What?
I believe there's probably millions or thousands, but I don't know about billions. But I know there's people.
Billions.
Wow.
There are billions, and I want to clarify a whole bunch of things. You know, if you think that there are secret space missions to Mars, that's nonsense, because there are billions of people that live on Mars, and they probably take it pretty seriously if you landed in their backyard. See, that's the thing. Nobody realizes what's really going on.
So that's why
there are billions of people on Mars, and they all look European in appearance, and every last one of them, have pointed ears. And they're a race of man known as the Nephilim. That's my preference, the Nephilim.
How tall are they? Biblical. How tall are they?
No, we're normal. You know, I'm just right at 6 feet in height.
Okay.
Now, I know that I know about the giants thing, but you know what people don't understand is that when we started intermarrying and interbreeding with humans, the children, there was a lot of birth defects. And we had children that, because of the lack of gravity on the earth, would just shoot up. You know, and you get these guys that would be anywhere from 8, 9, 10 feet in height, and they'd have 2 sets of teeth in their mouth.
Okay, wait a minute. Back up. You said the gravity, I thought the gravity was actually less on Mars.
No, we're not from Mars.
Oh, okay.
No, see, there's the thing. Mars has no indigenous animal life forms. Mars has a lot of microbial life, but it never got past that phase. Our race is from a planet that was in the 5th orbit, in between Mars and Jupiter, where the asteroid belt is today.
What do they call it? What planet was it called? Do you know what it's
Well, it loses something in the translation, but it was simply called the planet Water.
Wow.
Or, if you want to go with the Sumerian term, you could call it Kemet.
I've heard
which
that.
is actually the Sumerian word for water.
Wow.
See, there were two planets in this star system that gave birth to life. One was named Earth, the other was named Water.
The story is plausible. I gotta say,
wait till you hear. Let him go, because it's
right.
going to add up. It's like a massive puzzle, and as he puts the pieces down, the picture becomes very clear. But I just want to clarify. So, going back to, could you touch back on a clone of Orion, correct? And your father or your grandfather was Poseidon. Can you touch on that first, so we can kind of get that picture in our mind?
All right. Yeah. No, that's my real name. My real name is Orion. My father was the most famous admiral that ever lived. His name was Grand Admiral Poseidon. My uncle, that you call Zeus, he was Supreme Commanding General of the Army. But there's a story behind that. You gotta hear it. See, there's things that you can say, like a man was blinded by a woman's beauty. You say that 10, 20 times over a campfire, and suddenly it becomes a story of somebody being blinded. I was reading some of the stuff that was said about me, Orion, and it talks about how Zeus, Hermes, and Poseidon all ejaculated into some kind of bag that they took out of a cow, and they buried it for 10 months, and when they went back 10 months later and dug it up, there was me. Baby Orion, which was trying to explain why I was earthborn. But I'm the original. I'm not a wannabe. I'm not a make-believe. You were told thousands and thousands of years ago that in the end days that I would be brought back from the dead. And I am brought back from the dead, and it's really me. They built the pyramids in honor of me. There are 3 volcanoes that are artificial on the surface of Mars that are supposed to represent the belt of Orion. I'm amazed that now that I'm actually here in person, in the flesh, that nobody is really taking notice. But, I've been battling with the United States government for the last 40 years because when I came of age, as I said, I joined the United States Navy, both because my father was my human father was a naval hero of World War II, and because of my original father, my real father, which is Poseidon. So I joined the Navy, and unfortunately, after I got through the initial parts of this, I never got stationed or anything because I was taken into a kind of a court-martial setting, and I was accused of espionage. And they wanted to know why I had enlisted in their armed services. And they told me straight out in this court that they knew that I was an alien from another planet. Which I tried to play that off a little bit. I said, well, where did you guys get this idea? And, there was a guy who was speaking for all the generals and admirals that were sitting up there looking at me. And he mentioned those giant skeletons that I was just talking about. And he was talking about the teeth, that a lot of times these teeth, there'd be 2 sets of teeth in these giants' mouth. There'd be a set of 36 on the outside, and on the inside a set of 32. And he said the nearest that they can figure, a man from another planet came and interbred with early humans and created these birth defects that created these giants. And I said, well, that's fascinating, but what's that got to do with me? And he said, well, because you have 36 teeth in your mouth. I said, yeah, so what? He said, well, humans don't have 36. Humans only have 32 teeth. Besides, there's genetic red flags. They were right. I knew who I was. But I'm not a danger to anybody. I'm not here to harm you. I'm here to protect you as much as I can and to try to have a conversation.
Grandma Wolf
People
said, the
People have
bigot
been sitting out in the desert
Oh
in
my.
lawn chairs, hoping to have a conversation with aliens. Well, it's going to take a lot more than sitting in lawn chairs to have a conversation with somebody from another planet. So the thing is that we want to have a conversation with you too. But there are a number of stumbling blocks coming between us and you, and they thought that the best way to do this was to do what they did, which is they cloned me and brought me back from the dead. So I have the memories of my previous lives, but I'm not reincarnated. That was something I mentioned earlier. I am not reincarnated. I am a clone.
Really?
And before anybody starts saying that I don't have a soul, yes, I do too.
Okay, where did it go in between the stage of dying and then being reincarnated? Where did your soul go then, if you weren't reincarnated? I don't get it.
I talked to God.
Okay, I'm not trying to get you upset. I just don't understand.
God.
Okay.
I really talked to God.
Okay.
And God is real. He really exists. But here's the problem. He didn't let me in the last time.
Oh, we're coming up break here. We're going to be back in shortly. Everyone needs to take a break here anyway. Wow, that's a lot to absorb, man. Beautiful. We'll be back
shortly. You gotta remember, Bruce, that nobody's heard this before, so we got to give them a few minutes to let it sink in.
brain in there, and it's pretty close to what I actually look like today.
Really?
I sent Eric a picture of that.
I did see the picture. It's the pictures you sent me. You look kind of like what Jesus looked like in a sense. This with your facial features and your hair. And has anyone ever told you that before?
Yeah, I look like a Nordic alien, and there's a very good reason for that. I am a Nordic alien.
This is the Monster Castle Paranormal Radio Show.
Remember I told you there's billions of people on Mars
from all walks of life.
Okay, here's what we're going to do, because I think that's confusing people. So when we come back on the air, let me ask you some questions.
We're on the air.
Let's try to. We're on the air. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so just so you know, I'm watching the chat room, Bruce. We've got a lot of people in there asking questions and chatting and trying to get the flow of what you're discussing, but. It might have been confusing because you mentioned there's millions or billions of people on Mars right now. What race of beings is this that's there now? And so kind of just discuss what's happening on Mars right now in a little more detail if you can.
The people that are on Mars, and there are billions, that's with a B, as in like buffalo or kicked in the butt. It's billions.
Gotcha.
There are billions of people on Mars, and they are only a small percentage of our total population. We have people today on hundreds of worlds out across the galaxy. Our current population vastly exceeds 111 billion. So, but you are not.
Okay, let me jump in real quick. So, Bruce, your planet original planet is not Mars. It just happens to be one of the planets that your people inhabited, right? Am I correct there?
Correct.
Okay, what about the moon?
Go ahead, Wolfman.
What about the moon? Is there inhabitants on the moon? Is that why they stopped the moon missions?
Oh, certainly. There are bases all over the backside of the moon.
How many people? What's the population there?
Probably at least 100,000 servicemen that are on the back of the moon right now.
And what breed?
But they're not under.
What breed are they?
They're not under the command of the United States.
Yeah,
they're under our command.
Okay. And are they
secret space fleet that everybody keeps talking about?
Is it humans?
That's not the United States. That's us.
Okay, and is there humans with you guys working with you in space?
Oh, absolutely. I was trying to explain some of the ins and outs of what's going on. We have for decades, many decades actually, been taking somewhere between 35 and 50,000 people a year off of this planet, and that's just out of the United States alone. I don't even know